All right, and we're live. This is episode 72 of the Inner Circle podcast. Our host, normally who is here, KORX Kal-El, cannot be here with us tonight. He's currently sick at the moment. So we'll kind of do some of the pre-chat stuff as we get everything shared out here before we get started. All right. So how you guys doing tonight?
Not bad. Not bad for a Saturday.
Yeah, doing pretty good, man. Getting over being sick myself, so it's nice to finally get over that and get ready for the holidays, man.
Yeah, man. Ugh, man. Yeah, I've been lucky. At least this time, I haven't gotten sick yet. I've been been feeling something coming on over the last few days, but I haven't gotten sick yet. So, I remember a couple of years I used to get sick on Christmas Eve, like clockwork. I get sick on Christmas Eve. Like we get back, like my family kind of what we would do is we would go to like some people have like a Moravian Christmas service or something like that we go to at night. It's like an hour. It's just a nice little thing to do. So we go there and like we go out and look at Christmas lights or something, listen to the radio, and we come back and I just would feel terrible. I'd just go throw up and just be it was horrible. And it was like that for a couple of years. I've gotten out of it though, but just for a couple of years there, it was pretty bad. But yeah, hopefully none of us get sick, at least for the rest of the end of the year. Hopefully so. All right, 1 second to get this shared out here. All right, what you guys been playing?
I haven't really been playing much of anything, man. I bought a couple external hard drives over Black Friday weekend, so I've just been trying to get everything installed into the new hard drive. So I actually finished that up today, so I'm actually gonna be able to jump back into some games, and I picked up Xenoblade, so I'm gonna check that out probably tonight.
Yeah. What about you, Nick? What you been playing on your new Xbox One X? Might I add?
Fallout 4.
Hey, how are the improvements? I can't try it out.
It runs really, really good. Like you know how if you're doing a lot of like the building and stuff, sometimes you'd have like the frame rate drop pretty viciously. Sometimes if you tried to place a really big building or something, or if you're like editing stuff too quickly. There's none of that now, so that's kind of cool. It looks a lot better. It's a lot less muddy looking. You know what I mean? The frame rates don't drop during like really like if you shoot a fat man off. That was the first thing I did is I shot off a fat man just to see if the frame rate would drop. It doesn't. So it's pretty damn good so far.
That's
like,
good to
hear.
A
lot of improvement.
Definitely good to hear. I can't play it, but I'm glad to hear that it's better. It'll be the first thing I play in 2018. I'm 95% sure of that, so I'm just waiting.
I will say the load times are way, way, way better too, which is great because the load times in that game were kind of insane sometimes.
Yeah. All right. I think we're about ready to go getting on this, and I got everything shared out now. All right. Wish I could remember how Cal starts these shows. He's got his own rhythm to it. I just kind of just go whoo, right over my head every time. So yeah, we'll get this started though. All right. All right, welcome Exponites. This is your host for the evening, Anchorman V2, taking over in the interim for KORX Kal-El, our main host of the Inner Circle podcast, but with your other co-host, B Money 101.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And Anchorman V, myself, and a special guest here tonight, filling in, Undead 3XVI.
What's going on?
And we are the Inner Circle Podcast. All right, guys, we got to get some good topics we got to get into tonight. But real quick, as we are getting on through here, so B-Money, I understand you picked up your Xbox One X lately. It was the
I
last
did.
week before. What are
Yeah.
your impressions? I don't think we've talked about it on here yet.
I'm pretty impressed by it. You know what I mean? I think I haven't had a chance to play too many games on it. But I did boot up a couple of 360 games just to see how they looked. Dead Space looks amazing on it. You know what I mean? It almost looks like it was like a remaster, kind of. You know what I mean? The way that the super sampling works on the game. So I'm pretty impressed by that. Checked out Gears 4. Played that for a little bit. I've been playing Madden on it because my cousin, he actually picked up a Xbox One S over Black Friday, and we picked up the Madden bundle. So I've been playing Madden with him, and that game looks amazing with the HDR effects. So I'm pretty impressed by it, man. I'm glad that I've finally took that jump and picked it up.
Yeah, man. And Undead, my understanding is you just got an Xbox One X. So what are your thoughts?
I love it so far. I had a couple of issues with Watch Dogs 2 crashing a lot. Didn't have the issue on the original Xbox One. So I'm not sure if that's a Ubisoft thing or what, or if Watch Dogs 2 is prone to crashing. I don't know. But other than that, great load times. The games look fantastic. The miles of difference between Wolfenstein 2 on my OG versus the One X is kind of mind-blowing. HDR makes a huge difference. But yeah, I've just been kind of cycling through some games. Like, I haven't been intentionally going back and like, ooh, I wonder what this game looks like yet. I've just been kind of playing the games I was playing before, but there's a lot of noticeable differences. Like, I know in Watch Dogs 2, it's really nice now because the frame rate's very solid and looks really nice. I noticed the brightness of everything a lot more than I did in the original one, because I just started the game on my original Xbox One and I switched to the One X, and it made a world of difference. I was really impressed with it so far.
All right, good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, for me, yeah, it's just every little bit and piece. Like over the last like 2 weeks or so, they've been like actually adding more and more enhanced games to the list, and so it's nice to see some of the changes. Some of them are kind of minuscule, but other ones are just like, this is so good. And like, but for me personally, the ones I've just been enjoying have been the games that have no patches to them, and you just see them run better. And it's amazing every time. Every time I play Dead by Daylight, it is just a joy to play, simply because the game ran like crap before, and now it runs decent now. So it's an absolute joy to play. But yeah, we had a couple topics we got to get into today. First up on the docket, as we have this particular month, PUBG's back in the news. And, oh boy, we got another fiasco. For those of you that don't know, what has happened is that Brendan Green from PlayerUnknown, back on Twitter just 2 days ago now, at least the time of this recording, back on Thursday, came out and announced he was kind of talking about the frame rate, and he pretty much said in very certain terms, there was really no way to misconstrue this, that PUBG on the Xbox One X was going to be 60 frames per second, and they said currently they were clocking in the Xbox One S around 30 to 40 frames, and they said they were probably going to lock it at 30 for that one. And this set Twitter and social media and everything on a complete ablaze. Everybody was freaking out about this, and for different reasons altogether. Xbox guys in general were very pumped for the Xbox One X getting that 60 FPS deal. A lot of Xbox One S owners were like, why can't we get 60 FPS? But then also like people were freaking out about it because it was kind of went against what Xbox had been saying in terms of what it was going to be a little bit. And the big one was, okay, a couple months ago, Shannon Loftus had said, oh, well, we're gonna leave it up to developers to make the choice on how to handle frames per second, but they believed that developers wouldn't allow for a huge frame rate difference to be in effect when it comes to like online multiplayer games, but it's still up to the developer. And so people freaked out. And right after, about 1 day later, Brendan Green comes out there and says, yeah, sorry, Xbox One X is going to be 30 frames per second. Didn't give any real major details about why, but apparently it freaked a lot of people out about that. So real quick, I just kind of ask you guys there, what did you guys think of this particular announcement? First, about 60 frames per second. We'll get into the flip later, but about the 60 frames per second initially on the Xbox One X. What did you guys think about that?
I'll let Undead take it first.
All right. Oh no, I was kind of surprised when they said it was going to be 60 FPS on the One X. Like I kind of figured they would probably continue with continuing to target 4K 30 FPS. Seems to be the usual goal. But when they said it was going to be 60 FPS, I was kind of hyped for it because it's heading into early access, as we know. It's not fully done. But having 60 FPS, if it was heading into early access, is a really good step in the right direction, I thought, going forward. But with them coming out and saying it was going to be 60 FPS and then now it's going to be a locked 30 FPS in competitive shooters is a big deal. I really do believe that. 30 FPS does feel slightly more sluggish. So I think PUBG would especially benefit from 60 FPS, but I can understand why they would lock it to 30. It just kind of sucks for those that went out and bought One X's hoping for higher performance peaks, and if it's being held back by the other hardware, is all the games going forward going to be locked to what the One S can do, or it's just kind of up in the air right now? It caused a lot of confusion for sure.
Yeah, I think that was actually going to be my question to you guys is, as ex owners now, you know what I mean, do you guys feel snubbed that they went back on this? You know what I mean? Because they did announce that it was going to be 60 frames, and then literally the next day later it was 30 frames. So, I mean, we all went out, we spent our money to buy a higher performance product, and it's, at the end of the day, we're getting the same performance that we would if we would have kept the Xboxes that we had before. So it's a little bit interesting when you think about it that way. I was kind of surprised that they announced 60 frames per second. I was like, oh, you know what I mean, because the game does struggle to run on most PCs at 4K 60. So I was like, oh, if they can get on the X, then that's pretty impressive. You know what I mean? They really optimized the game. So I was kind of excited for for that announcement. And then literally the next day later, like, no, it's going to be 30 frames. So that was a bit of a disappointment, and you kind of saw the outcry on Twitter. You know what I mean? A lot of people who feel like they spent the extra money to get this high performance product, and they're not really seeing that big of a jump as far as performance goes. When you compare it to the S and then now the X.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at least on my end, I kind of sit back on there and say, if they had never said anything about 60 frames per second, I don't think anybody in their wildest dreams would have thought, okay, native 4K 60 FPS on the Xbox One X for PUBG. A big open world 100-player shooter. Like, oh yeah, that's. I don't think anybody would have thought about that. But it's when you come out there and you said 60, you created the expectation and then you took it away. Now, the thing in particular is that now the perception isn't that the Xbox One X can't do 60 frames per second. It's that they're saying, "Oh well, we're gonna step back in there and now limit it," and then that's the perception now. And so then the question is, well, what are you going to use towards it? And so this is where it kind of comes down to, okay, which is more of a benefit in a multiplayer shooter? Now, if it's a first-person shooter, I think everybody would say higher FPS is necessary. Like, whoever has the higher FPS is going to be at the clear advantage. I think everybody agrees on that. Now, this is a third-person shooter. I know there's a first-person shooter mode you can do, like in select servers, but this is a third-person shooter. Frames per second while important, I wouldn't consider the most valuable thing as opposed to draw distance. And I would say screen resolution in this case, namely because playing Fortnite and seeing that how many snipers there are, you have to be on the constant lookout for these people, and it's just I don't know that extra the draw distances would be a bigger deal, and just to see what would affect the game most is kind of the part I'm kind of looking more towards to see what'll happen in that front. It might be something as simple as they're just gonna lock it in, and they're gonna lock it into maybe 1440 or something like that, but it's gonna run smooth supposedly. And keep in mind, this is also still early access for this is not a full release of the game, and especially when there's vehicle combat and there's gonna be explosions and stuff going on all the time. Yeah, running smooth is going to be very important. So I don't know. I kind of want to see how that flies when the game comes out, but at the same time, I don't know. My issue is more towards Brandon Green because it seems like the guy insists on not having a PR team, and he's done this stuff before where he has to put his foot in his mouth or walk back on something. But like I said, this has happened before. Now, it's not been this kind of big of a deal. It's been little things, but it's happened. So
I think the one good thing about it is that since it was such a quick turnaround, if you weren't on social media, you probably never even heard the announcement. You know what I mean? It might not have been a big deal to you, and it's something that they can clean up pretty quickly. And for most people who are going to pick up the game, they wouldn't even know that 60 frames was an announcement. So it's something that they can clear up rather quickly, I think.
Yeah. I think they can recover from it clearly, but I think this kind of feeds into a larger problem that we're seeing with Microsoft right now. And the only reason I would say this is a larger problem with Microsoft is namely just because this is the Xbox team is working with Brandon Green to bring PUBG to Xbox. Right. They have some control over this title, and they announce stuff way too early, and it just seems to be creating a lot more problems than they actually need. And that's the part I'm kind of getting more towards right now. Do you guys think that Microsoft has a real messaging problem? Especially this generation.
Yeah, I think they definitely do. I think they have some things that they need to clean up, and I think they've sent mixed messages for the past couple of years. So hopefully, 2018 is different, but it's not looking likely the way that they're ending 2017, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. What's you and Dan?
Yeah, I definitely think Microsoft's got some confusing messaging across past couple of months, especially. It's been kind of it's interesting to see because I imagine everyone that's on that team sits down at the same meetings and everything else. So it's hard to believe that they wouldn't all be on the same page with all the same things. But it really turns people off of a product if there's mixed messaging or it's not the same messaging or what you come out and say initially isn't the true factual statement. It really turns people off of your product. And I know a lot of people were on the fence with the One X because there wasn't a lot of clarity on exactly what it could do. Right off the hop, there was the whole 4K 60, no compromises, misunderstanding. There was it doesn't help also that, there's media outlets out there that'll misquote what people say and misconstrue it, and that creates misinformation as well. But Microsoft definitely has a messaging issue that they need to address heading into 2018 because I think they have some good games coming. But you got to entice people to have faith in your product, and faith in the Xbox game plan is a lot lower than it used to be than, say, last generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It really is becoming a much larger issue now. And I think a lot of like this is the issue I think that happens a lot with Microsoft is that when they come out with an announcement, they want to be specific and they want to give you a lot of details about it and to make you excited for it. But anytime they announce something that's more than a year off, it just always seems to backfire. Like just almost every time. It's like Scalebound, Sea of Thieves, Crackdown. It just is every time they announce something that's more than a year away, it just seems to backfire. Where and like I understand too because like, what was this thing that Phil Spencer said earlier this year? He was saying that when we have something we want to show, we don't want to show you that something that's like 2 years away. We want to show you something coming out soon. And that was a sentiment I could get behind. But the problem is, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Either you announce things way too early, but people kind of have a roadmap of where you're looking at, or you announce things way too late, and so nobody cares anymore. And because you play it so close to your chest, you don't announce anything, so people can't get hyped for anything coming forward. And I think it's a point that people have brought up. Like, okay, what's coming out what's coming out after spring 2018 for Microsoft? We don't know.
Yeah, they definitely need they definitely need a roadmap of sorts because like you can pretty much for 2018 you've got a pretty decent roadmap of what's going to be hitting PS4 most likely or potentially hitting PS4 for most of the year. Nintendo Switch, I'm not 100% on that one. I don't own one, so I don't keep up with it. I don't know how good Nintendo's roadmap is looking for 2018.
B Money knows about that.
Yeah, man, it's looking good over there too.
Okay, so if Nintendo has a decent roadmap set up and PlayStation has a decent roadmap set up, there's nothing wrong with having roadmaps to show people what to look forward to on your console. Yes, sometimes things get delayed and everything else, but I think if you know what's coming, at least you can get excited for what you know is coming. And I think that's why there's a lot of kind of about like Crackdown and everything else is because we've heard about them for so long now. The hype's completely died on them. Like I don't know too many people that are hyped for Crackdown 3 now, even especially after the last delay. The hype's just died on it. And there's a difference between, I think there's a very fine line of announcing something too early and then not hyping it up enough. It's really hard for companies to find that middle ground. I would love for all companies to release games like Bethesda does, but their launch windows I love, but not all companies are that coordinated and well organized to do that kind of thing. It's a lot harder when you have multiple first-party studios you have to worry about instead of a select few studios that you publish for. But that's my thing on it.
You can tell Undead's trying to suck up to me because right now I'm hosting the show. You can tell right now.
No.
Also, because your wife's probably got a knife to your throat right now. You better say that.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think Bethesda probably has the best release windows. You know what I mean? I think the announcement of Wolfenstein and then Dishonored 2, we kind of knew about them a little bit, but they came out right away. So I think, that's a great strategy. But, that's a big name publisher who can afford to do things like that. I think when you have multiple first-party studios and you kind of need to build up that hype for potential games and things like that, you can't always do that. And I think Microsoft is kind of learning the hard lesson. They've announced a lot of games really early, and they've had some cancellations and delays and things like that. But they also are not providing enough hype, for their fans when they don't announce anything at all. Like Anchor mentioned, we don't know what's coming for fall 2018 for Microsoft. I mean, we probably know that there'll be some sort of Forza game, but beyond that, we are living with uncertainty with their fall lineup. And I'm sure they'll have something at E3 2018, but will that 4 to 6 months allow enough build up and hype for whatever they have coming? Because if you look at just the past couple of years, it doesn't seem like it's been long enough, or they've put enough marketing into those games that are coming for the second half of the year, because they all kind of fell on deaf ears.
Yeah. And like especially the games they keep putting out at the end of the year, they rely solely on bundles to push them.
Right. Yeah.
Like really, the only reason I think Gears sold so well is because it was in a bundle for dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Like, like that made like getting the S like it was real hard trying to avoid not picking up an S because it was just so damn cheap.
Right.
And what was that? The deal I jumped on was getting Battlefield 1 and and getting Gears in the same bundle. I was like, wow, there's my lineup for the year. Like I was done. Like you couldn't beat that deal.
Right.
But again, like this year where there really wasn't anything, it was just kind of like, okay. Like there was nothing to say like, oh wow, I really need to go pick up an S right now. There was really nothing there to push it. Right. Like with those bundles. So I wouldn't be entirely surprised if these MPDs come out for November and they show that Xbox didn't win it. I would not be entirely surprised.
They've already released. I was gonna say they already released Black Friday sales numbers. The Xbox is like 585,000 behind everyone else. So,
yeah.
But it either way, it sold well regardless. But the thing is I think Microsoft's starting to get it. They're seeing where they are in the scale of things and what the competition's doing. I think they're starting to get it. I really think games like things that give variety to the Microsoft brand, like games like Cuphead, really help for me to have faith in what they're doing again, because they help get that game out there, and that was a fantastic game. And I think if they start thinking outside the box a little bit more, yeah, they're going to have a couple ideas that fall flat. But if they break out of the box that they're in of the Gears, Forza, Halo cycle, or even use those and create new styles of IPs around that, whether they decide to do like a Destiny-style game with the Halo universe, or do a Gears of War and an RTS game like they did with Halo Wars, or anything along those lines, just give people variety, because that's variety is what people want at the end of the day. And if you talk to people that buy PS4s or Switches, you ask them what exclusive or what games sold them on it, you're going to get a variety of different answers and a variety of different styles of games because of the different kinds of games that are on them. Like someone could have bought a Nintendo Switch because they really like Mario, so they want Mario Odyssey, but they don't have any interest in Zelda Breath of the Wild or other titles that may be on there. And same thing with PlayStation 4. Someone could have bought that for the Uncharted series or The Last of Us, or they could have picked it up for games like Neo or Hellblade or anything along those lines. Different varieties of games will apply to different varieties of people, and Xbox still seems to unfortunately fall into the block of the dude bro audience, unfortunately.
Actually, I think... you go ahead. I had an idea.
No, go shoot. I was pretty much done on that.
No, what I was going to say, I find it interesting that you bring up Hellblade, especially because we got some numbers on Hellblade. It was, now correct me, B-Money, I'm pretty sure I remember this correctly. They had came out and they said they had sold like 500,000 copies.
Yeah. Yep. Which 500,000 copies, 250,000 on Steam, and 250,000 plus on PlayStation.
Which... there's 2 points. One that blows my theory out of the water about Lawbreakers. Because what I thought happened was, because we all knew Lawbreakers didn't do too hot, but they came out like the same day as Hellblade, but all attention was on Hellblade because of the supposed, like, was it permadeath or something like that. There was a whole controversy about it. Yeah, but it was a bunch of little stuff too that all kind of built up to it. And so my thought was just it came out and just overtook Lawbreakers, which, I mean, if Lawbreakers sold less than 250,000, jeez, which I think it did. But either way, Also, the fact that it's something that is very interesting because it seems like with the Xbox base, when there's a game that is catered to the Xbox base, they will buy it. They will buy it in droves, no matter how big the actual install base is. Like we estimate somewhere around like 30 million people, or 30 million units out there rather, and they will go buy whatever game it is. They don't care. Like that was the thing. Like Titanfall, Halo, Gears, Forza. No matter what game it is, as long if it's catering that Xbox base, they will buy it. But outside of those games, and in the big AAA stuff, they kind of just stay clear of everything else. But if you look at like on PlayStation, though, when it comes to like those games, they don't really buy it as a monolithic group. Their buying pattern is way more diverse than on Xbox. So what'll happen is you'll get like a game like Hellblade, which got a lot of attention, which if you consider the fact the PlayStation is like what they're estimating by the end of the year, like 70 million units, and they only sold 250,000 copies of that. Like the PlayStation base is not buying as a monolithic group. It's a collection of everybody's different variety, like a collection of everyone's different tastes all functioning together. And
exactly.
So that's what makes this interesting.
Yeah, and see that's the thing is like you'll have what I would call different pockets of people that play specific games. Like I've got dudes that I follow on Twitter, and they only play JRPGs. They don't buy Western RPGs, and they don't buy a lot of Western games. And then there's people that play on PlayStation. They're in there for like Uncharted and Naughty Dog games. There's a lot of different variety of what people buy. And and the thing is with PlayStation 2 is they have a ton of exclusives and a lot of variety in what they do. But that just because that variety doesn't mean every game's going to be a blockbuster. It just means that there's different games for people to buy. Like not everyone, like we always see on Twitter, the PS4 exclusive list. I think there's very few people that buy every game on that list. I think that's a very minority of people. I think that because there's some PlayStation exclusives I've bought and there's some I just don't have any interest in. Like Neo is something I'm not really interested in, but I'm playing Last of Us. I'm enjoying that. There's other games on the PlayStation I'm going to pick up and everything else. But I think when you start talking install base versus what people are buying, it's the same things you always hear with Uncharted 4. Oh, well, it sold 9.8 million. Well, yeah, because the PS4 Slim was bundled with it and everyone was buying Slims like hotcakes. So you got to look at that too. It's the same thing with like Gears sales numbers and Halo sales numbers. If it's bundled with a console, it's going to do well because if people are buying that console, they're going to buy the bundled deal. But like with Hellblade and everything else, there was outside of social media circles, there was no talk of that game. There was no marketing for it. So the numbers being that low isn't that surprising. But at the same time, everyone makes such a big deal out of exclusive sales numbers. People are going to pay more attention to the numbers on that and kind of sit there and scratch their heads and be like, why is this so low?
Yeah. Like you said, there is definitely just pockets of gamers that are on PlayStation. You know what I mean? Everybody has different interests. And I think that's the one thing that the PlayStation has learned is that just cater to everyone. You know what I mean? And you'll get people to come to the console, whether the game sells 100,000 or 10 million. You know what I mean? They look at it as there's someone else has invested into our console. So I think that's why they continue to bring more games Japanese games to the West, through their publishing deals and things like that. Just because they know that their audience is full of, a bunch of different gamers out there. Not everything is going to interest everyone. But as long as they have it, they have that person's interest. So it's just a good strategy that they use. I would love to see Microsoft do the same thing, and Nintendo as well. You know what I mean? A lot of developers were kind of shying away from the Switch because they didn't think it would be that huge of a success. But you see more and more each day developers saying that they're going to dedicate some time and effort to putting their games out on the Switch. So You know, you just have to cater to whatever audience is on the console.
Yeah. And that's definitely true, and especially right now, like, what was it? People are like, especially let's talk about the Switch for a moment. People are jumping all over the Switch, man. It has been insane. Like at this point in time, I would not be surprised if Switch took November's MPD. Like
as it sits right now, if I remember what I read correctly on the article, the Switch sold roughly in the United States numbers. This is including elsewhere. I think it was something like 300,000. Yeah, 300,000 under what PS4 did. PS4 did blockbuster crazy.
Yeah. Also,
on Black Friday. So
well, the PS4 it was pretty low. It was like less than $200, right?
Yeah.
PS4 was $199, Xbox One S was $189, and Nintendo Switch, I think for you guys, was $299.
Yeah, it's the same price it is normally.
I don't know. I know everything in my price.
The Switch saw no decrease in price and still sold that well.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
I mean, Black Friday traditionally has nothing to do with power, games, nothing else. It's all about price. Yep. Whoever's got the lowest deal is going to win. And in this case, even though Microsoft was $10 cheaper, it's just $10. Like, people, and the PlayStation 4 right now has got that word of mouth where they got away with it. It didn't matter. But even the Switch, there's a lot of hype going on that console right now. There's a lot of hype. I'm so glad you convinced me to keep mine. I'm just sitting and looking at it now. It's like, I'll play you when Kirby comes out. Kirby and Smash.
I'll buy one when they make a Luigi's Mansion game. Or when that Pokemon game drops. If that Pokemon game drops, then yeah, I'll break down my GameStop for that. And
that's another point, though. It's like because they have that variety of game type, like everyone likes different stuff. And
yeah, like I always have. There's a couple of games that'll make me cave and buy a Nintendo console. Like, believe it or not, my primary console back in the day was not like Xbox or PlayStation. My primary console was GameCube.
Yeah, GameCube.
That was my primary console. I played GameCube all the time, and then I was like, I bought Nintendo's next console, which was the Wii, and I was like, this sucks. And I went out and bought a PS3, and I played on PS3 for a couple years, and I bought 360, and yeah, I just own everything now. But yeah, no, for me, there's some games I really want on the Switch. Like, I really want to play Mario Odyssey. I know I down talk it all the time on Twitter as not being that great. It's just another 3D Mario game. But at the end of the day, I played Mario Sunshine last week, and I was like, God damn it, I want to play another Mario game now.
Mario Sunshine is infinitely better. I'll say that much.
Okay, well,
like okay, Brandon. I don't know. You played Odyssey yet, Brandon?
Yeah, I have.
All right. This might be
City right now, actually.
Oh, you're New Donk. So you're about the halfway point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're about the halfway point, and I just thought it was okay. I just thought it was just an okay game, honestly. Like I wasn't like super into it, and I just started. It was a good time. Don't get me wrong; it was a good Mario game, but it was no Super Mario Sunshine. I love Super Mario Sunshine.
See, I've never been like a huge Zelda fan, but like Kirby's a win for me. Luigi's Mansion was my favorite GameCube game. I was so mad when they were like, "We're creating a new Luigi's Mansion game." I was like, I had the Wii U at this point, and I was like, "Oh yeah, really?" And they're like, 3DS. I'm like, damn it. But yeah, like Luigi's Mansion would be a turning point for me to get one. Smash Brothers would definitely be one there. And honestly, if they released a Pokemon game on the Switch, I'd be in line with the other like 9 million people that would hop on board. But like, I don't think anyone's using a Nintendo Switch as like their primary gaming console, but it's a great addition for a ton of different variety of games that not necessarily that you can't play anywhere else. I think Nintendo's really realized that's their market. Like, I don't think anyone's going to go sell their PS4 and become a primary Nintendo Switch gamer. Like, there's some I know, but those guys are weird. But I think there's a lot of variety in the console market. Like, I can't think of a time. I'm older now, so I pay attention a lot more. But even when I was a kid, I don't think there's been a time where all three consoles have been as competitive as they are right now. Even with Xbox dropping the ball a bit, they're still ahead of the curve on 360 numbers. So they're still having the best time they've ever had as a console maker. Right. So Xbox and PlayStation, Nintendo are all making money hand over fist, and they're all delivering us all this variety of stuff. I just think it's really awesome time frame we're in right now. 2018 is going to be crazy.
Dude, not even that. Just think about this, too. Like, we're literally back in the GameCube era. We're literally, we're all the way back then again. Think about it.
Yeah.
Xbox is the most powerful console. PS4 is the most popular. And then you got the Switch, which has awesome games. Yeah. Like, it's all...
Man, you know what the coolest thing was about the GameCube? I forgot about it when I pulled it out. Was the, like, $40 Game Boy game adapter. You could screw into the bottom of it and play your Game Boy games on it. I forgot I had it. And I sat there and went, man, this is great. I love this. I love that. Nintendo's always got these quirky features, and they not necessarily wrap in with anything anyone else is doing, but they're always neat. You always remember them.
Best feature on the GameCube, the handle. The handle on the back, so you could pick it up and beat your brother with it.
Okay, well,
you ever dropped the GameCube out of like off of 7 stories of a hotel? I have. Oh my gosh, those things are built. Oh my god, I remember because I remember I brought my GameCube down to Myrtle Beach one year because back when I was a kid we used to go down to Myrtle Beach after Christmas, and so we go down to meet my cousins, and so we drive over there and have a good time. It was enjoyable. It was always fun. But one year, my cousin brought his Xbox, and I brought my GameCube, and they were playing Tiger Woods. I don't remember which year it was. They were playing like PGA or something like that, and so I got really mad. And so I didn't think about like, oh, I spent money on this GameCube. We went outside and said, I wonder if the GameCube could survive a 7-story drop. So we dropped it off the balcony.
Man, you crazy.
Landed on somebody's car. Oh my gosh. It left a little dent on there, but it ran fine.
Man, my sister got mad at me the one day I was playing GameCube and she wanted to watch TV, and she booted my GameCube, and it flew like 8 feet, smashed off a wall, landed on the tile floor my parents had. I just picked that stuff up, replugged it in, it worked like a charm still.
Built Nintendo tough, man.
Oh man, they knew what kids would put their consoles through.
Yeah. Man, so 1 second. I just replaced this gauze. Give me one moment. For those of you that don't know what's happened, so I was out and I was making some mulled wine for it was Christmas time, and I'm trying to do something different. So I was making mulled wine, and it was just a weird time, man. It was just a weird time. If we cut out here, I'm sorry about that. But when I was making this mulled wine, and basically I had got all the ingredients out there and I was all ready to go, and I was trying to get it, so I was trying to open this bottle, and like the cork was all just really messed up. It's like the cork got ripped in half, and so I got the corkscrew in with my left hand, and I got my right hand out, and I'm trying to jam it. So I'm gripping on the bottle real hard, and I'm just trying to hold this thing down so I can leverage it out. And I'm squeezing on the bottleneck real hard, and the bottleneck shattered. So I was trying to pull it out, and I got a bunch of glass in my hand. And so I've been picking out pieces. I got all the pieces out. I was bleeding pretty bad, and so I got gauze all over my hand, on my right hand. And so, yeah, so I'm just replacing the gauze all the time. And just, oh my gosh, just insane. So I gotta replace this gauze.
And this is why you should just make moonshine instead of try and make wine. It's just the world telling you.
Oh man, I hadn't shattered a glass bottle in a long time. It was just a weird time. One second, my computer is doing something really weird. So if this restarts, we shouldn't have a problem. But if it does, we'll find out. But yeah, it's been pretty fun, guys. I don't know. It's been a different world out there lately. A quick question for the group here, as we are now in the December holiday season. Are there any games you guys feel the need to play this time of year? Like, I don't know. Like for me, like there's certain games. Like when I was younger, I was like, I don't like football or sports games in general. When it comes to gaming, but there was one game I used to pick up religiously for like at least 5 years. NFL Street. This time of year, I would pick up NFL Street and play NFL Street for hours. I used to play that like all during like Christmas Eve. Like when I couldn't sleep, I would wake up and go play NFL Street. And I don't like football games, but I like NFL Street.
Yeah.
Just and part of it was because you could create that ultimate character who was such a badass, insane speed and tackling, and just running through people. Oh my gosh, like playing with a freight train.
No, I mean,
man.
Usually this time of year, I try to beat whatever RPG game I started like early in the year, and kind of set down because of other releases that came out around it. So usually, I'll pick up, RPG or JRPG and try to finish it out. Since Xenoblade just came out, this will probably be the game I focus on, this entire month, try to get that knocked out before the new year kicks off. Because there's so many new games coming out next year, got to get ready for. So just try to focus on games I didn't complete and get ready for next year, man.
What about you, Nick? What do you normally do something this time of year or no?
I dig out my old consoles this time of year usually. Like I'll whip out the N64 and play Pokemon Stadium, or I've got a ton of like retro stuff still around my house. I used to actually be like a huge retro collector, so I kept some of the more valuable stuff. Like I still have Conker's Bad Fur Day and all that kind of gold Donkey Kong Country. I still got those cartridges kicking around. So around this time of year, I'll whip that out, especially now that I have kids and stuff, get them started on the old stuff. No, I'm kind of the same way as Brandon. I try to like finish off some games I've been meaning to. Like I got a week and a half of work shut down, so I'm going to try to either play through and beat Horizon Zero Dawn or play and beat Persona 5. Both those games will take me the whole time I'm off. Persona 5 will probably take me even longer.
Yeah, 100 hours. Got to be dedicated.
I just want to, I'm trying to expand my horizons right now. I criminally ignored JRPGs from like 360 all the way to like midpoint in this generation. So I kind of been like going back and taking a look, see at what I want to play and whatnot. So I think I'm going to spend a lot of time on that this month, just kind of playing that kind of thing. Like there's no real like Christmas themed games that I play necessarily. No, all your tweets about Dead Rising 4 make me want to buy that now.
Dude, I was just about to talk about that because I hate zombie games with a passion. I got really burnt out on them back on the 360, like playing Dead Island, playing Left 4 Dead, just oh my god, Dead Rising. I hated Dead Rising 2. I hated Dead Rising 3. I actually took off points for Last of Us because it had zombie tropes. I was like, I hate zombies. Like, they're cheap. They're not. When that is the key focus of your enemy type, I have an issue with that because it's lazy. It's a lazy game mechanic. Uh, it's something where they've tested the human psyche, and they're easy to they're easy to animate and path. It doesn't require a lot of work. You don't have to have any justification for people wanting to kill zombies. It's so straightforward, and it's just so overdone. I absolutely despise it. This generation, I tolerated Dying Light because Dying Light's a good game, but it had zombies in it, so it can't be that good. And like I'm not saying like you can't have zombies whatsoever in your game, but when they are your key focus, then I have an issue. I just like Fallout gets like ghouls are kind of like zombies, but they're not the main focus at all. It's killing raiders and killing super mutants and robots and other crazy things. So I mean, I just don't. I absolutely despise zombies. But Dead Rising 4, I actually really like. I've really enjoyed it. It's a fun game. It's that kind of game where it's like you can't play it for like 3 or 4 hours at a time. You play it for an hour or two. You put it down. You go do something else. Like you don't binge yourself on Dead Rising. But Dead Rising 4, like it's nice because it's got a Christmassy background to it. And the music is top notch, excellent Christmas score. Like it's your regular classics, but with a nice, beat change, a nice like different rendition of your classics, and but it feels kind of pulpy, like it's supposed to be. Like they're not. It just feels right, man. It just fits so well with this world, and there's everything else going on. Absolutely love it. I enjoy it. It's my kind of
basically, if you have zombies in your game, Anchorman gives your game a big thumbs down. But if they have Santa hats, yeah, it's so funny you say that because, like, honestly, the whole reason that I didn't buy Dead Rising 4 is because I'm so burnt out on zombie games. Because all those games you listed. Except for Dying Light. I haven't played Dying Light yet. It's sitting on my PS4 still. But all those games, I've got at least, I don't know. Hell, Left 4 Dead 2, I've got to have at least 1,400 hours in that game. But I played the hell out of zombie games. I played the hell out of Dead Rising 2. 3, I still have to beat. But I was sitting there with 4, and I was like, zombies. No, but now you're talking about it. It was on sale.
Really. It really is that good.
It's at my GameStop right now for $23 with the Seasons Pass, and I'm like,
but it's a seasonal game. Like if you play this in February or March or any time after that, you're gonna hate it. It just, but it's because it's a Christmas timed game. It's fun. Like it's tolerable, but there's games like that where because of the seasonal setting, you just can't play it any other time. Like I can't play the Division.
I feel like Cuphead's going to be like that for me. Cuphead's going to be like that for me. When I get uber depressed in the middle of winter, I'll start playing that to hate myself even more.
No, but like okay, it's when a game is set in like a particular setting. I feel compelled to play it at that similar setting. Like I can't play the Division in July, like because in July I'm worried about keeping cool, make sure the AC's running. In the Division, they're worried about not freezing to death.
See, in Canada, we never have that problem. I can't play tropical games because I don't know what that feels like.
Oh, yeah. Baby.
I'm pretty much done with the zombie games. I can't really get into them anymore. I used to play them super heavy. Left 4 Dead was one of the ones I played a lot. Played Dead Rising 3 when that came out for the Xbox One. Played Dying Light. I think that was the last one that was even worthy of being played as a zombie game. So
fair.
After that, I mean, I can't get into it anymore. Anything that has zombies, I completely write it off out of the gate. Just looking for something else. You know what I mean? I think I've had my fair share of zombie
I'm,
games.
I'm still waiting for a zombie style game. Like, I'll discount The Last of Us because I do not want to get Anchor on that tangent again.
Last of Us is not
I just
that
want
good.
a zombie game. Okay, sit down. Sit down. We're not having this conversation. I'm not doing this. Okay, what I want is a zombies game where the plot isn't the same as every other zombies game. I want a well-written zombies game because I believe that a good zombies game can be done still. It just the writing is always so awful in them, and they're almost all the same. It's the same problem I have with a lot of horror films too. Is once they find a good formula, they just drive it into the dirt. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. I think the only game that could make me, quote unquote, come out of retirement for zombies games would have to be a Left 4 Dead 3, which won't happen, but I'll come back for Left 4 Dead 3. Like, I will officially hang up my zombie hate and say, okay, let's do this.
Well, as Eric J said in the chat, you gonna give those points back to the Last of Us review now, or nah?
I'll give them back when Last 4 Dead 3 comes out.
Listen, that's not even a joke in these streets, okay? I'm done with zombie games, but if they drop Left 4 Dead 3, I'll be squealing like a girl.
Man, Left 4 Dead is just a great game. I never told you guys this story, but my roommate in college, his name was Scott. He actually he was actually a pro Left 4 Dead player. He was doing game battles and doing in live streams and stuff. Like they used to broadcast Left 4 Dead matches. I think they still do, but like with announcers and everything. And he would play in these events, and it's the competitive Left 4 Dead. It was amazing, dude. It was absolutely a blast to watch. It was amazing. It's definitely worth the watch if you ever get a chance to watch it.
Huh. I didn't even know there was like a pro scene to Left 4 Dead. That's crazy.
Dude, man, Left 4 Dead's extremely competitive. Like, that was the first time I ever saw like a competitive aspect to a game. Like, even before Call of Duty, like that was the moment where I was like, wow, there's a whole esports scene. And like that's where I saw it.
That's the first like esports you experienced was Left 4 Dead competitive.
Yep. Left 4 Dead competitive.
What the damn hell. I was gonna say my first competitive experience was winning an Xbox 360 Elite after beating someone at Halo 3. That was like my first competitive experience. I never even knew there was competitive in Left 4 Dead. Next thing you know, you're gonna tell me there's like competitive Minecraft. MLG Minecraft.
Competitive Minecraft. There's Sky Battles?
No, I've never. No, you
ever heard of Sky Battles or Hunger Games? Well, there's plenty of Hunger Games mods. That's not really a thing. Sky Battles. If you go play Minecraft right now, you can go to the community matches, and there's a bunch of places you can go to. And with Sky Battles, basically what they do is they spawn you up in the sky, and you get like a small little floating island of like a couple of trees, a small little mine. Like we're talking very, very small, like Pandora floating rock kind of small. And you try to make something out of it to go kill all the other players on their little islands. And there's a very limited amount of resources. And it's like it's like an hour-long match. And there's like 40 players.
Okay, so I've officially heard of everything now. Any game can be competitive. I can't wait for Skyrim's esports.
Oh, you didn't hear it? There's a Gone Home competitive scene.
Okay, no. You shut your mouth. This has been episode 72. We're done.
All right, so we will wrap up a few little things. We're gonna wrap everything up here, at least for the MP3 crowd. So everyone else who has been here, thank you guys for watching the show. We do appreciate it. We'll do a Q&A session whenever we wrap things up here tonight. So real quick, we'll do our little outro bits for everybody out here. So this has been episode 72 of the Inner Circle podcast with B Money 101.
Hey, we had a great night tonight, fellas, and I appreciate everybody came through. See you guys next week.
Undead 3 XVI.
Thanks for having me on. Had a great time, and hopefully everyone enjoyed listening.
And host for the evening, at least until Cal gets better, Anchorman V2. Thank you guys for showing up, and we will see you guys later. All right, so we'll do some of the Q&A for the group here. We'll get everybody has a little chance for the questions to roll in. You guys can ask whatever questions you want as usual, and we will try to answer them as best we can. Let's take a look here. You guys heard about that game Hello Neighbor?
Yeah, yep. my kids been playing that for a while on I want to say it was on tablets for a while, and it was on. Yeah. It's been on PC. My oldest son plays it on PC a lot. They're it seems pretty cool. I mean, it's not something I would get into, but definitely something, you know what I mean, that my son is into, and I can see why people like it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I was talking to my buddy Shane, who hooked me up with the Xbox One X. We were talking about the Hello Neighbor, and like they are doing a huge push. Like they are trying to get this thing out to the console market. I believe, is this Supermassive, or is this I want to say it's Supermassive Games who's doing Hello Neighbor.
I'll look it up quick. You can keep going. I'm pretty sure you're right, though.
Brandon, this is the same group that invited us to go to Russia. These are the same guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the same people. They're trying to do this big push on the console market right now. It's been pretty crazy.
The Hello Neighbor is done by Tiny Build Games.
Tiny Build. I see. It was something weird like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's pretty crazy, man. It's really interesting, at least to have it on this end, because like Hello Neighbor is kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy's kind of game, where not in terms of how the game's set up, but in terms of it's a game where there's very, very little background, and you have to. It's like a giant mystery everyone's trying to work through. And it requires very little background, and you just start playing it immediately. And for those of you that don't know what Hello Neighbor is, it's basically you break into your neighbor's house, and your neighbor is doing some pretty weird stuff. And you go into his rooms, and you see different things, and you go out of the basement, you hear people crying for help, and it gets way deeper than that, but it's really crazy, and there's a bunch of little things you can do, and it's fun. It's kind of like the best way to try to explain it is like if you guys are into the Call of Duty zombie scene when they release a new map and nobody knows anything about it, and it's just everybody working as a community trying to figure out how to get past this part or what's going on. It's
because when they were releasing it on PC, they were releasing the house in chunks. So you could see the full house, but you'd hit a point where you couldn't get any further. But then sometimes there was workarounds around it, and there's actually a fair number of people in the PC marketplace that were really heavy into that game, and I could see it doing really well on console too, because I'm not going to say it's a horror game. It does have its horror related whatnot. It's kind of like a jump scary kind of game sometimes, but it's a really small market on the console space for those kind of games. So I think they could really do some work if it's marketed and it comes out right.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of game. I'm mildly interested in it, honestly. I might pick it up a little bit later. But it's way more fun to watch other people. I'm not really into watching live streams, but I will watch a Hello Neighbor live stream because it's just fun to watch. And just watching because when you're playing, your mind is not focused on details and story elements. you're way more focused on just not getting caught and staying alive. It's a fight or flight kind of deal. But when you're watching, you get to enjoy that, and you get to kind of pick up on parts of the world. And this is the kind of game I like watching more than playing. So, all right. So should be plenty of time for some questions to roll in. Let's take a look here. That's a good starting point. So we got a question from TFX God. Who should Microsoft buy post Respawn buyout? We've had this question before, but we'll get Undead on here because he hasn't really had a chance to really speak his mind on this particular matter. So the question in particular was, other than Respawn, rather, who do you think, if Microsoft could buy one other unclaimed third-party studio, who should they buy?
I don't know, man. Like, the amount of money EA paid for Respawn was nuts. I don't know if Microsoft would drop the amount of money it would take to pick up a decent third-party studio.
This isn't would. This is who they should, not would.
Who
but
they should. Everyone's gonna say Capcom, but I don't know. Like, it'd be cool if they picked up something like CD Projekt Red, because if they lock down their next game as an exclusive, people buy Xboxes like Hot Pockets. Okay, like if Cyberpunk was an Xbox exclusive, the internet would have a meltdown and it'd be Armageddon. But like CD Projekt Red's a good studio. I know. I think it was Cal that was on saying that they should pick up Obsidian. That wouldn't be a bad buy for them. Capcom wouldn't be a bad buy because they've got good IPs, but I don't necessarily have a lot of faith of them as a studio, if you know what I mean. But that's all I got on that.
Yeah. I know Brandon and I kind of agreed, at least the last time we had this question. We were saying if there was any way for them to pick up, who is it? Focus Home Interactive. And just get that whole ensemble of studios and give them a budget to actually work with, they could make some great games.
Yeah, give them a budget, add, a few more talented people to those studios. I think they'd be something special, man. I think they're right on the cusp, of really taking off. I think Vampire next year will be the testament of where Focus Home goes after that. I know they have that. What was that other game that they have coming out?
Oh, they got Call of Cthulhu and that werewolf game.
Yeah, so they have some really interesting games coming down the pipeline. But I think Vampire, with Vampire being first up, I think that really has to have a strong impression. Has to review well, and I think if more people pick it up and start spreading the word about it, I think they'll have more interest in their upcoming titles. So I think they're right on the cusp. If they had just a little bit more funding, a little bit more talent, I think they'd be pretty special.
Yeah, and at least with them, at least with Focus Home, I love it because they're taking it in a very different direction than a lot of other publishers are going with it, with a lot of their games, where theirs are more focused towards a traditional RPG layout, where with complicated menus and and the whole shebang. At the same time, it's also just really fun to see that they're actually trying to go for a darker, just different mentality. With a lot of their games, how many werewolf games can you point to that we've actually had? How many times have you ever seen Cthulhu as a main focus point in a game?
Not very often.
We see it on occasion, or some other fake name for it, like the Mind Flayer. Or something like that.
Yeah, but you know what blows my mind about that whole series of games like Vampire and all that? What really blows my mind is not only the setting, but how polished, like, I know they're trailers, their gameplay or in-engine footage or whatever you want to say, but like it seems really thought out and really well put together. Like if they come out and they're like really good games, that's huge, because there's not a lot of games in that genre, and there's even less good games in that genre. So if they start popping off good games in that genre, that'll be huge for them.
Yeah, we got another question from the crowd here. David Johnson writes, should Microsoft announce VR at E3 2018?
No.
Why?
I think they need to really double down on reasons to own Xbox beyond the Xbox X having games that look better or run better. I think they really need to double down on games, and like we mentioned earlier in this podcast, since we don't know what's coming down the pipeline for them, they really need to change their strategy a bit and define a roadmap of what people can look for in the future. And VR should not be one of them.
Yeah, I agree. Like, one of the reasons why PSVR is so, I'm not going to say so successful, it's one of the most successful VR headset. It is the most successful VR headset in the marketplace at this time. But one of the reasons that Sony is able to sustain PSVR is their ability to support it with a separate group of games and studios working specifically on that hardware. Whereas Microsoft, as of sits right now, doesn't have the studios to crank out enough games to keep people interested in the Xbox itself as a mainstay. So what they need to really focus on is making the Xbox as appealing as possible. And then after they've done that, maybe bring in VR. Maybe next generation, think about bringing in a VR headset. But I think as far as like the Xbox One generation, VR would be DOA on Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the only way that they could possibly get it to survive is if they went with, one of the third-party headsets, and a lot of those games that you only see on PC came to Xbox as VR titles. But even still, I think you're asking more people to go into a higher price range to, adopt those headsets, where we saw, the PSVR as low as $200, this holiday season. So the entry was a little bit lower, and I think you see more people adopt it, whereas you just don't see that with the third-party headsets.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of VR games on PC, but not necessarily good VR games. I think Sony's done a pretty decent job at creating games like Farpoint and other VR-based games. Riggs is a lot of fun. I actually got to go hands-on with that. That's a really fun game. Shame the studio got shut down, but I think going forward, if Microsoft expands what they're doing on the actual Xbox, VR might not be a bad step. But as far as it stands right now, unless they were to make their own VR headset, or even if they, as Brandon said, like if they expand in like you say, use the Oculus Rift is usable on your Xbox One X, and you can buy games for PC on your Xbox One X off the marketplace. I still don't think it would catch on that much, because you're already paying the $499 for the Xbox One X, and then you're paying another. I think the Oculus is $399 for you guys, $499, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's a pricey entry point. Whereas right now, if we're just coming out of a Black Friday where you could pick up a PS4 Slim in VR for $400. So it's a very tough market to break into, and I just don't think it'd be a smart move for Microsoft at this point in time.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of of the same mind with you guys on this one, because I kind of look at like this year in particular was kind of like a desperation push for VR, because we have not really heard way too much about VR, at least in a positive light this year. It's just been a lot of weird stories, a lot of things like, oh, this guy's getting sued, or yeah, this isn't going to work out. Like, just a bunch of weird little stories, honestly. It has not been very positive this year for VR. And like, especially just lately, like there's been a very big push to get games out the door, and like the part that told me, okay, this is desperation, was what Best Buy is doing right now. They got a deal with PlayStation currently where, what was it? You can try out PlayStation VR for like 14 days in your own home. You literally take the console home with you, and they give you a bunch of demos, and you can play it indefinite, like for 2 weeks. Like that tells me like this, the initial experience there is not enough for people to play it and be like, I need this right now. But it's they're like, okay, just take it home with you, so you're interested.
I actually disagree to an extent. I think this is more of Sony making a marketing push and try and make more money off VR, because apparently, from what I was reading while I was researching my VR article, which will be out and finished on Monday, Sony makes a lot more profit off the VR headsets than they do PS4 consoles. So PS4 VR headsets are very profitable for them. So they're definitely putting money into marketing. Like, I live in a town of 1,500 people. We had a PlayStation rep for 4 days at our GameStop doing VR demos, discounts. They had coupons. They had all sorts of things. And it's clear that Sony's trying to push VR. They already own 50% of the VR market space. 50% of the VR headsets on the market are Sony's. So they're pushing to dominate this market. And I think it's less desperation, more if they want to dominate another space in the gaming market, because primary income for Sony right now is their gaming side, because as everyone knows, there's a lot of Sony businesses that have gone the way of the dinosaur in the past few years. And I think gaming is their primary focus because they realize it's something they do really, really well. So they're trying to get as much money out of that as they can. And VR is just a different way for them to make profit, which, hey, I give them full credit, because when VR first came out for the PlayStation, I was almost sure it was going to be like the Move controllers, the PlayStation. I can't remember what it was on PS2. They had a PS2 camera, I think it was, or it was PS3.
The
and it had like a bunch of,
the PSI.
Yeah, the PSI. That was really not well supported. And Sony didn't have not a good track record with supporting external hardware on top of the console. So I didn't have a lot of faith in PlayStation VR, but I'm glad they've proved me wrong so far, and that they're putting so much effort into it. Yeah, and hopefully it pays off for them in the long run, or if it bombs, it bombs. But that's just where VR is right now.
Yeah, and I think they've kind of stuck to their guns and have shown a lot of games that are coming to VR. You know, like you mentioned, they usually will put out a third party or peripheral, and not really support it too much. But we saw it last year's E3 and this year's E3. Even going through Paris Games Week, that they are still committed to VR, and a lot of stuff that they've shown lately looks pretty promising. I'm really big into like tactical shooters, so that Bravo Team game that's from Supermassive looks super interesting to me. I know a lot of people are playing Gran Turismo in VR right now, and are pretty impressed with that. And then what's the one VR title that everybody keeps talking about with the platform?
Oh, Moss.
Yeah, Moss. So that looks pretty promising. A lot of people are talking about that and say that that's the reason why they would jump into VR. So like you said, I think there's just another way for them to try to dominate the marketplace with VR, and that's just another strategy that they're trying to use.
Mm-hmm. All right. Check it real quick, see if we got any other questions on here. So yeah, here's a speculatory one. Mr. Samuel Tolbert from RGM just asked us, Microsoft's partnership with Studio Gobo, when is that going to show up? That's a good question. We haven't heard jack about Studio Gobo.
I must not be enlightened in the Xbox ways. Studio Gobo is
a company that made the Disney Infinity games. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the same one.
Okay, that's why I haven't.
When Disney cut out the Disney Infinity, they basically had this studio that was up in the air, and they announced a partnership with Microsoft. And so we had a couple theories about what it could be. Way back when, what was the big one we were doing? Oh, what was? For whatever
Microsoft
reason,
Infinity. You can play. You do a child style game with Cuphead figures and everything. Come on.
God. No, what was? I feel
Come
like there was one we were talking like a Ultimate Alliance kind of top down like squad based deal. Like, oh, I got Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix and a bunch of random and Banjo Kazooie all in a squad, and we're gonna team up together to go fight something. I feel like that was Cal's idea or something.
Hey, I wouldn't mind a game where I can be Conkers. I can go chase Banjo around trying to pee on him. That would not be a bad game.
This is a family-friendly show.
I'm sorry, Conker's Bad Fur Day is still one of my favorite IPs. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of weird that we haven't really seen too much about it. They almost kind of made a big deal about it when they announced the partnership, and kind of felt like there would be something that we would see rather soon. But maybe that's something that they hope for E3, and we'll know what it is next June. But I mean, what do you guys think Studio Gobo would bring to the table as far as this partnership with Microsoft?
Well, I as embarrassed as I am to say it, I didn't realize who the studio was behind it, but the Disney Infinity actually was not a bad product. I owned it. I played it. I enjoyed myself.
Too, yeah.
And it was a great product. It was really unique for what it was. It was kind of fun, and I don't know. I think if they have the right financial backing and the right direction, I think they could make a pretty good game.
Yeah, see, like I would almost want to just see them kind of be like Blue Point Games and just go back, get all the old Rare titles, and see what you can come up with. There's so much like storied IP there, and with Rare focus on Sea of Thieves, I think Studio Gobo would fit perfectly. Doing like a cameo game or like a Banjo game, or even like a Viva Pinata. Like. They could really make those games kind of shine. So it'll be interesting to see what they actually come up with.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what they're gonna do. It really is up in the air in that idea. I don't know. It has just been a really long time. Like we really thought, because I know we talked about this like right before E3. We thought they were gonna do something right before then, but no. This is one of those. This apparently is one of those Phil Spencer. We won't see anything for 2 years kind of deals. So, go figure. Anything else on here? I'll pull up the list real quick one last time just to double check, see if there's anything I'm missing. Any last questions before we wrap everything up here? Let's take a look. I'm not seeing too much. Cal's too good to us, sitting in the chat, answer everybody's questions before we even get to him. He was too good to come in the podcast, but he was totally fine with just sitting there taking everyone's questions.
Well, Cal did pose a question in here, which is with Xbox One X out and reportedly doing well this holiday, can Microsoft ride that momentum into 2018? What do you guys think?
It depends. Got the games.
with what's announced so far, do you guys think that they keep that momentum when we look at what the competition has on the table?
I don't think they will, because if all that needs to happen, literally, like the Xbox One X is a great piece of hardware, and if you're an Xbox owner, it's a great piece of hardware, but like we've got State of Decay 2, which is going to be a good game. Is Sea of Thieves slated for spring or no?
I don't think they've actually put a release window out.
I'm not
sure.
They said
early 2018, so it could fall sometime between.
Okay, so it could fall sometime in spring.
Yeah.
So you got State of Decay 2, Sea of Thieves, Crackdown, maybe, who knows? And what we've got potentially launching on Nintendo Switch, I don't know on that aspect. Brandon, you would probably be better informed on that than I am.
Yeah, I know we definitely got the Kirby game on there. Yoshi is coming. We know that Smash is probably going to be announced rather soon. Bandai Namco is actually working on 3 exclusives for the Switch, and Bandai Namco actually did the last Smash game on the Wii U. So they'll be announcing those games sometime in December. Actually, they're supposed to have some sort of event, so they'll be announcing those. I'm guessing Smash will probably be one of them, if not during the Nintendo Direct in January. I would assume that it'd be announced there. But they have Shin Megami Tensei, which is a big, another big RPG coming to the system, and then Fire Emblem will be coming as well.
Yeah.
So those would be like the big games coming towards the beginning of the year.
So they've got some big games coming, and Sony potentially could drop God of War, Spider-Man, all in the spring
No.
time frame.
No.
Oh, come on. Come on.
That's not happening. No,
God of War
they'll-
slated for March. Spider-Man slated for April.
God of War March, Spider-Man June.
Spider-Man will be
if
out
I had to
before
go.
E3.
But also, let's not forget people.
Well, the big they'll try to synchronize with the movie, with Infinity War, which is in May.
Yeah.
But they're gonna wait until after the movie comes out.
You also got to keep in mind, too, we supposedly, I say supposedly because this is Rockstar, we supposedly have Red Dead 2 dropping in spring, too. So companies may have to shuffle their dates around because that game will kill any game within a 2-week period.
Yeah,
Nah, but
3 to 4
Rockstar's
weeks.
coming out. Rockstar, nah. Red Dead's coming out in fall. Let's be honest here. They're gonna delay it. It's gonna get delayed. They're gonna show it. And we're all gonna go. Ooh, we're gonna ooh and ah over it, and then it's gonna get delayed.
See, I kind of want to make a wager if you're not playing Fallout 4 all the way through 2018 on that.
I'm not doing that.
Because the current rumor as it sits right now is we're getting a trailer and launch date at the Game Awards.
Oh, sure.
So-
We'll get a trailer and launch date, fall 2018.
Boy.
I'm just telling you the truth, man. If you don't want to listen to the truth, that's not my problem.
As Cal said in the comments, Anchors represents multiverse anyway. Any comments or response belong to Anchorman V are now no way affiliated with TICGN or TIC Associates.
Wow. You got betrayed real quick. Why don't you come say it to my face, Cal, on the podcast? Oh, wait.
I think we see Red Dead before E3 as well. I think they definitely get that out because they'll want to push their online stuff because I think that'll probably come at a later date, similar to how they did with GTA. So I think the base game will be out sometime spring, early summer, and then the online will probably be something that'll come in the fall, and that'll be the big push in the fall for them.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when did the original launch? Oh, it launched in May. The original launched in May. So,
yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 4 was in April. Rockstar tends to favor spring releases. So the only one that wasn't a spring release was Grand Theft Auto 5, which was in September. So, yeah.
Yeah, they're also used to at least 2 delays. And
Well,
they've only
I was
given
going
one
to say
delay
GTA
so far.
5 almost had 5 delays. So, that game was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But don't
All
worry,
right, guys.
they'll be on Sony's E3 stage. You watch.
Oh, God. If we say it'll happen every year, eventually it'll be right. All right, guys. We'll wrap things up here. Thanks, you guys, for showing up on the show. Thanks, everybody, for checking out in the chat. We'll be putting this stuff out there for you guys. We got, 2 more shows, I think, before the end of the year. At least on us. I think it's about right.
Yeah,
And we'll have 2 weeks. Yeah, we'll have 2 weeks to chill. So, all right. And we'll see you guys later. Thank you guys for showing up, and we're out of here.